Welcome back. All right, so we got 11 games in the books, and some surprising results, some not so surprising results, some goals being scored, and the first shutout of the season has been recorded. And I thought we were going to have two, but in the end, we only had the one. So, thanks, Ant Whistle. But anyways, we'll get to that. First off, Vancouver and Buffalo. So, yeah, so I'm using a Finn logo for, well, Finn magnet that I've made for the Canucks, because sure. It was Demko versus Anderson. Quinn Hughes was out. Besser was in. Hunt was in. Shen was in. Burrows was out as well. They waived Patan. I think that for Canuck fans that are mad that McEwen's gone and Gadjevich is gone and everything, I think what's missing here is there's just not whatever you're looking for from the Canucks on this trip, you're not getting it. So I don't know that if you had Gadjevich and McEwen on the team, if it would be any better than this. So the Canucks pressed at 2.5 minutes, saved and held by Anderson, who had a really good game. And Craig Anderson's off to a decent start. The Sabres' first shot was at 5 minutes and 20 seconds. There were 5 shots for Vancouver, and Vancouver scores first. It's Horvat from Pearson at 5:57, so things are clicking pretty well. But Kyle Okposo, yes, the guy who signed that contract that, everybody talks about how bad of a contract it is, it's looking pretty good right now. He scores his 200th goal from Girgensons and Dahlin at 8 minutes and 22 seconds. So it's a tie game. It doesn't stay tied. Justin Dowling scores his first for Vancouver from Shen and Miller at 16:01, and that was after he had hit the post on a breakaway. So Dowling had a decent game, and the Canucks are up 2-1. Sabres, though, had the better possession numbers. So coming out of that first period, you could say the Canucks were maybe lucky to have the lead. Now, if you flash back to the Detroit game, the Canucks' possession numbers were really good, and as good as the possession numbers were, they end up losing the game. So you could think, well, maybe it's going to be a reverse tonight. No. Second period, early Canucks chances, and then more good play by Okposo. I can't praise him enough right now. Dahlin fires one wide as the Sabres press. The Canucks get a power play. It is unsuccessful. The Sabres press at the half. There were 8 shots in a row by the Buffalo Sabres at one point in that second period. The Sabres then get a 4-minute power play. Olofsson with a shot save. That was held on to, and the Canucks did survive that 4-minute power play. However, they lose the lead. It's Girgensons from Okposo and Cousins at 17:37. It's tied at 2 as we head to the third period. Third period, the Canucks get an early power play. Really iffy passes by that power play, and I'm being nice. Where there were passes where I was like, I'm not sure where you're putting that. That doesn't seem like a good place for that. I know Miller turned it over, and then there was another turnover shortly after that. So the Sabres get the lead. Skinner from Miller and Cousins at 3:33, and on that one, the Canucks defense was nowhere near the net, which you want the defense near the net. And then Tage Thompson scores 23 seconds later from Butcher and Olofsson. So Butcher has been a good replacement for Yoki Haru so far, and it's a 4-2 game in favor of the Buffalo Sabres. And the score is right. This is not a case where, well, Vancouver deserved a better fate, but Buffalo is the better team. So the Canucks get a power play. It is unsuccessful. They end up pulling the goaltender early because you've got to try to get 2, which gives Rasmus Asplund a shot at the empty net. He takes it. He gets it at 17:05. Buffalo wins 5-2. They go to 3-0. The Canucks drop to 1-2-1. Now, what's funny is that the 2019-2020 season, they had an East Coast swing that didn't go well. 2018-2019, they fell out of the playoff race with an East Coast swing. It feels like, after taking the year off last year, where there was no East Coast swing, now it's back. So the shots in this one were 11-8 Buffalo in the first, 16-10 Buffalo in the second. Both teams had 16 shots in the third. Final shots 43-34 for Buffalo. Both teams 0 for 3 on the power play. The hits 14-10 for Buffalo. Again, Vancouver, just no hits from them. And now Travis Green's saying that they're not physical enough and they're not competing hard enough. And this is where you're giving fans the fodder to say, well, Gadjevich and McEwen would have thrown hits. So, and I don't think they win any of the games they've lost if they had those guys in the lineup. But I understand where people are coming from. So Demko saves 38 out of 42 on the loss. Anderson saves 32 out of 34 for the win. And yeah, Buffalo winning games. They aren't tanking very well. For a tank, they're just not. They're like a hovercraft now more than they're supposed to be a tank, but it's like they went out on the water and we're floated. We can't sink. So yeah, there you go. All right, moving along. Montreal and San Jose. Oiler fan. Habs fans will say you could just stop right there. I'm not going to. So San Jose, what a start for them. So it's Aiden Hill versus Jake Allen, and it's a good thing these games are next to each other because the Canucks can look over and say, "Oh, Jonathan Dahlen, he was a Canuck. How did he do tonight?" Well, he gets a goal on the second shot of the game. It was originally credited to Meyer. They switched it to Dahlen. That's his first NHL goal from Burns at 1:22. And then at 3:36, he gets his second NHL goal from Couture and Meyer. And this crowd was quiet in Montreal. This was a very quiet crowd. Game starts getting chippy. The Sharks get a power play out of that. And the crowd really taken out of it. The Habs were flat in that first period. The Sharks get a late power play. They end up getting a goal after it's done. It's Erik Karlsson from Nieto and Ferraro at 19:22. Erik Karlsson has played well. If you're a San Jose fan and if you believe that this team can make the playoffs and maybe do something, you know what? You've got a slow start from Vancouver. Calgary's looked kind of lost early on. Seattle looks like they're not going to be that competitive. LA's kind of fallen off. There's a spot there for the Sharks. Second period, the Habs had chances. They get a post in the first minute, and the fans really desperately wanted that to go in. Like this, I felt bad because it's like, Habs fans desperately want something to cheer for. So a power play happens for San Jose, and they score on it. It's Timo Meier from Couture and Karlsson at 3:09. We then get a delay of game call against San Jose, and the Habs get one of their two power plays. It is unsuccessful. The shots are only 5 apiece with 8 minutes left. It was a quiet period, and then Montreal had opportunities in those last 8 minutes, just couldn't solve Hill. Third period, the Habs get a power play, but the shots are only 1-0 in Montreal's favor at 5 minutes. The Sharks doing their best to kill the clock with a 4-0 lead. Just get out of there without getting hurt. Just get this game done and over with. Drew Antip won over the net, and you could just see just the body language from the Habs. And Brendan Gallagher post-game clearly frustrated and saying that they're frustrated. And of course they are. But then there's a power play for San Jose, and they score on it. It's LeBanc from Karlsson and Eklund. So Eklund with his second assist in his second game. And that's at 14:31 of the third period, just to add insult to injury. So your final score is 5-0. So the first shutout of the season in the National Hockey League belongs to the Sharks. I didn't see that one coming. Shots were 12-3 San Jose in the first. Yeah, Montreal, 0-3 coming into this game, come up with 3 shots in the first period to 12 from the visiting team, who scored 3 times to go to 2-0 while the Habs dropped to 0-4. Second period, the shots are 11-5 Montreal. The shots were 8-7 San Jose in the third. Final shots 25-21 for the Sharks. Power plays, San Jose 2-4, Montreal 0-2. Hits were 31-20 in favor of Montreal. Hill, 21 saves for his first shutout, and first shutout by anybody this year. Jake Allen, 20 saves on 25 shots. It's going to get ugly in Montreal. It is going to get ugly. I would expect that tomorrow the media will be all over this effort. This is one that's just gonna stick. They have to come out in their next game and really show some pushback, or this could be a long season. Next up, Florida. So the Panthers, this is an impressive team, and I know before the season started, I had pegged them to finish second in the Atlantic. I might have to update that and say, yeah, they're probably the best team in the Atlantic. So it was Knight versus Vasilevsky. Spencer Knight is fantastic, right? Early chance for the Panthers. The Panthers would press. They would draw a power play. Duclair wires one wide, and Vasi then makes a save on the next one. Shots are 7-3 for the Panthers at 9 minutes. They came out. They were really into this game right away and wanting to get the crowd out of it. The Bolts press with 9 minutes left. Tkachuk was hurt. He took a spear below the belt, so, or as I put here, in the boy howdy. Painful looking. The funny, I don't know if it's funny, but the part after, where the announcers are like, I didn't see what happened. Oh, okay, I see what happened. Ow, kind of thing. Like, yeah. Bolts get a power play, and then we get 1 minute and 35 seconds of 5-on-3 for Tampa. Good penalty kill, though, by the Panthers. Good aggressive penalty kill when they're down 2 guys. And when they needed Spencer Knight to make the saves, he absolutely did. Point was denied as the 5-on-3 ended. It all gets killed off. Lundell with a break. Vasilevsky denies him. I think Anton Lundell has to be one of the more popular Florida Panthers already. I would think fans watching these games for Florida have to be excited about this kid's potential because he does not look like a rookie. He's not playing like a rookie. So second period, Panthers get a power play. Bennett had a shot that was saved early on that power play. However, Montour scores from Reinhart and Lundell at 6 minutes and 12 seconds. So Reinhart on the board with an assist, as is Lundell, and Montour with one. And then Tampa Bay goes right back to the box. Another power play. They kill that one off, and then Tampa Bay gets their opportunity on the power play. But Knight really wasn't giving a chance to Tampa Bay tonight. There just wasn't anything there. The rebounds, he was very good at controlling them. Colton had a chance that was saved. Perry's denied, and yeah, this is just a clinic by Spencer Knight. It's only a 1-0 game, but it feels like, you know, that momentum's all with Florida as we go to the third period. Panthers speed. The speed is on display in every shift, but Braden Point on a nice little fast play himself. Hedman and Ruda with the assists at 2:36. That ties the game up. But to their credit, the Florida Panthers showing some just that ability to bounce back. They tried to answer, and they did. It's Barkov from Verhaeghe at 3:40. And yeah, there you go. It's a 2-1 lead. Sergachev then had a miss where the Bolts were pressing back to try to get the tie. Tampa gets a power play. And Lundell with some fantastic shot blocks. Like these were rifled at him, and he's just blocking them. Like it was again, for a rookie, he's playing well in all situations. Panthers do kill it off. Point then with a fast break, he fires wide, and then it's Lundell with his first NHL goal from Reinhart and Marchman at 13:19. So Reinhart with a couple of helpers. Tampa Bay gets a power play. The goaltender gets pulled in the final 4 minutes, so Tampa Bay desperate to try to get a goal here. Knight with a really nice goal line stand. They checked, said nope, puck never crossed the line. He made that stand on that goal line, just fantastic. And then the empty netter, it's Duclair from Barkov and Forsling at 17:54. So Florida goes into Tampa, wins 4-1. They go to 3-0. Tampa drops to 2-2. So this is a game where, yeah, they miss Kucherov. This is where that happens, where all those players they lost in the offseason, and now without Kucherov in the lineup, it makes Tampa look quite different. Shots in this one were 12-10 Florida in the first, 9-6 Florida in the second, 15-11 Tampa in the third. Final shots 32-31 for the Florida Panthers. Power plays, Florida 0-3, Tampa 0-6. That's where you miss Kucherov too. Hits 26-25 for Tampa. Knight saves 30 out of 31. Vasilevsky saves 28 out of 31 at the other end. So, yeah, Spencer Knight continues to impress people when he gets the opportunity. All right, next up. So, this game's interesting in that I thought this was over in the first period, and it should have been. And then it feels like this is where New Jersey's kind of learning how to win. So New Jersey's going to be happy with the end result. I don't know how happy they're going to be with how they get here. So you'll see I'm using the helmet decal too for New Jersey on this one. It's not the only one I'm using, but you know I just point that out because it's the word mark, right? So it's Decord versus Bernier. So Drieger went on injured reserve. Decord ends up being called up. He played well tonight. Gord's debut was a surprise. Yanni Gord being back about 3 weeks early from where he was expected. And then early on, Subban had a shot fired wide. The shots are 4-0 for the Devils at 4 minutes. They came out and they were just the better team. And then it's Mercer with his first NHL goal. His family in attendance. They were excited to see it. From Tatar and Graves at 5:02. And then they add another one at Severson with his first goal from Hughes and Graves at 6:42. So there's that bust Jack Hughes with another point. And New Jersey's off to a really good start. The Devils then pressed for another, and Seattle was stuck on 2 shots for a while in that period. Like, it felt like New Jersey was just, wave after wave of attack here. And I thought it was going to be a really long night for Seattle. The Kraken get a power play. Hischier with some nice shot blocks, shorthanded there. And they kill it off. With 54.7 seconds left, the Devils get a power play. But Hischier scores as the clock runs out. So it would have been 3-0, but because the clock showed 0.0 when the puck is on the line, It was 0.1, and when it was in the net, it was 0.0. It is that close. And it felt like that kind of gave Seattle hope, which can be the worst thing, right? Second period shots are 4-1 for the Devils at 3 minutes. So the Devils come out, again, playing very well early on. Lauzon then had a fight with Geertsen as Lauzon tries to fire up his teammates there. Kraken get a power play. They don't score on this one, but they do score after it. It's Riley Sheahan with a goal from Larson and Dunn at 10:05. The Devils then get a power play. They don't score on that, but New Jersey does add a goal before that period's out. And it's Jimmy Vesey with his first as a Devil from Janssen and White at 14:48. So nice to see Vesey on the board, and that makes it 3-1 in favor of the New Jersey Devils. Wenberg scored. They challenged it. And yep, it was offside, so that goal comes off the board. It is not the only offside goal tonight. Dislike picking up late. The Devils end up with a power play. Sharon Govich had a chance that was stopped. And Seattle, with their goaltender, they kill off that power play. So we go to the third period, and it was not an exciting third period. Really wasn't. The shots are 1-1 at 6 minutes. But at the half, the shots are 4-1 Seattle. Seattle starts getting momentum. And this is where, for New Jersey, maybe they're guilty of sitting back a little bit. Maybe some moments that they'd rather not have had. Because Seattle gets a power play. They end up with a 5-on-3. They score during the 5-on-3. It's McCann from Giordano and Gord at 14:41. So Gord gets an assist in his first game as a Seattle Kraken player. And that makes it a 1-goal game. Now, they don't get one 5-on-4 after that's done. Seattle, though, playing well late in this. They pull the goalie. They press in the final minute. But in that final minute, New Jersey does get it. They get it down the ice. Zacha gets the goal at 19:40 to salt it away. Makes it 4-2. New Jersey's undefeated. They're 2-0. Seattle, spirited. But, again, they were down 2-0. Probably should have been 3-0 after the first. But, again, that didn't go in before the buzzer. And they end up 1-3-1. So, for Seattle, it's been a long learning curve of a road trip for them. And we'll see how things go for them the rest of the way. The shots, 14-7 New Jersey in the first, 15-13 New Jersey in the second, and then they were 9-4 Seattle in the third. Final shots, 33-29 for New Jersey. Power plays, Seattle goes 1 for 5. New Jersey 0 for 3. The hits were 16-12 for New Jersey. Decord saved 29 out of 32, played well. And Bernier, 27 saves on 29 shots. And again, Bernier proving that, yeah, he's a pretty good goaltender. Now, I need to change boards. Okay, so there's something weird going on with Dallas this year. Normally, Dallas loses when games go to extra time. It's bizarre, but maybe this year it's not going to happen. Year over year, you'll have teams that all of a sudden they don't win in overtime or shootouts. But it's good news for Dallas that they got a hard-earned victory tonight. And for Pittsburgh, I don't think there's any reason for Pittsburgh to hang their heads either. So it's Holtby versus Jarry, which before the season started, we would have said, oh, that'll end up being like 6-5, 8-6. Holtby's off to an excellent start with Dallas, and Jarry honestly has had a very good start for Pittsburgh as well. Jarry was sharp early when tested. The shots were 3-1 for Dallas 7 minutes in, and both defenses were just really stingy in that first period. Like, as I'm flipping around between games in that first period, there just really wasn't a lot going on in that game, comparatively speaking with other ones, especially this one. We'll get to that. Letang at a blast. Holtby makes the save. Penguins get more shots in the second half of the period than what they had in the first. But it's Raffl that scores 10 seconds before the period's out for Dallas from Faksa and Heiskanen. So Faksa on the board with an assist. Raffl with a goal, and it's 1-0 Dallas. Second period, Penguins press early. Bluger, shot blocked. His next shot was fired wide. And then it's Marino. After a really good shift where Dallas is tired, he gets the goal from McGinn and Pettersson at 5:26. The Penguins press again at 8 minutes and 30 seconds left. And with about 5 minutes left in that period, Penguins fans start doing the jeer at the goaltender, which, again, when it's a 1-1 draw and the other goalie's playing well, it's odd. Third period, Radulov had a chance that was denied. The Stars have broken up the first line, so Rick Bowness is having trouble getting the amount of goals from those top guys that he wants. It's standard. It doesn't matter who the coach is in Dallas. Eventually, you're breaking up that top line. McGinn couldn't bury one. Close call for Glendening. There was a too many men call that they were going to make, and then they got together and they went, nah. There were no penalties in this game. None. So that's kind of nice. Jari making big saves. Holtby was as well. The Penguins pressed with 6 minutes left. Fox had a chance that was turned aside, but this was going to overtime. And overtime was crazy. This was a very good overtime. Letang had a chance that was saved. Radulov couldn't bury one. The puck just back and forth on this. Kapanen denied. Suter had a chance that wouldn't go. Jari, he stops a Heiskanen chance. Ben was denied. The Stars press. Sagan couldn't get one. Then Letang goes the other way, and he fires one wide. So we go to the shootout, and in the shootout, the winner is from Radulov, as Dallas wins this one in a shootout 2-1. They go to 2-2. Pittsburgh still hasn't lost in regulation. They're 2-0-2. The shots in this one, 7 apiece in the first, 9-7 Pittsburgh in the second, 10-7 Dallas in the third. Both teams had 5 shots in overtime. So very exciting overtime. Final shots 29-28 for Dallas. No power plays in this game. Hits were 38-32 for Dallas. Holtby saves 27 out of 28. Jari saves 28 out of 29. They're both putting up pretty good numbers, which was not expected of either of them. All right, next up. For Colorado, this has been kind of a disjointed start to the season, hasn't it? I look at this result and I say, yep. A, the Capitals look pretty good. B, the Avs just, there's something off here. So, and understanding it is McKinnon's first game in the lineup, and they didn't have Landeskog and whatnot, but still. It was Kemper versus Samsonov. Early Caps 2-on-1. It was defended out quite well. Kuznetsov net feed wouldn't go. Ovechkin buzzes around the net at 2 minutes, and that first 5 minutes, it was all Capitals. It was just Caps and more, and then they score. Kuznetsov from Karlsson at 6:15, and then that wasn't enough. They tried to add another one not too long after. The Avalanche were stuck on 2 shots for a while in that first period. We get a power play for the Avs. It becomes a 4-on-4 not long after. And then Kemper stops a McMichael chance. The Capitals press. They end up drawing a power play. But during that power play, JT Compher on a steal off of Kuznetsov's stick, 13:46, he ties it up. And then they killed off the rest of the power play after that. But it's Jensen with a nice rush goal. And thankfully this one counts. He had a goal earlier this season that got called back. I was glad this one counted. When it was a nice goal, I thought, oh, they're going to take it away from him again, aren't they? They didn't. Orlov and Wilson with the assists at 16:53. With 1:47 left, the Avs, with pressure, they draw themselves a power play. Doesn't score before the end of the first, and the rest of it is killed off at the start of the second. Samsonov denies McKinnon in that second period. The Caps press for one, but it's Helm that evens up the game from O'Connor and Byram at 3:12. So Byram on the board again with an assist, and it's tied up. The Avs then get a power play. That's killed off. Jack Johnson took a puck to the face. Those look painful. And then it's Mantha. Mantha from Eller at 14:47. And then it's Kuznetsov scoring from Wilson and Orlov at 16:41. So it is quickly 4-2 right there. And that was after a really strong shift by the Caps. So they really took over that point. And in the last minute, we get some unpleasantness between the teams, because it feels like this season to start off, we're seeing more of the unpleasant plays and teams really not liking each other. Maybe it's because this is the first normal regular season they've had in a while, and they're anxious to, maybe it's an energy thing, but it feels like these games are a little bit nastier than usual, which I'm not complaining. I'm just surprised. So third period, Nick Dowd scores at 39 seconds. So that's pretty much it. Then we get extended 4-on-4 play. Ovechkin 8 minutes into this game, or 8 minutes into the third, had no shots yet in the game. He was saving that for later. Makar had a shot saved by the blocker of Samsonov. Caps get a power play. Early goaltender pull by the Avs because you have to, and Bednar's not shy about doing it. They get a power play and they score. It's Rantanen from McKinnon and Compher at 16:54. So they pull the goalie again after, down only 5-3, but it is Ovechkin hitting the empty net from Wilson and Kuznetsov at 17:39. So again, Kuznetsov continues his very good start. The Capitals go to 2-0-1 with the victory. For Colorado, they drop to 1-2 with the loss. The shots in this one, 19-5 Washington in the first, 8 apiece in the second, 14-13 Colorado in the third. Final shots 40-27 for Washington. Power plays, Colorado goes 1 for 4. Washington goes 0 for 3 and allows the shorthanded goal. The hits were 20 to 15 for Washington. Kemper saves 34 out of 39. Samsonov saves 24 out of 27. And yeah, I mean, if you're a Caps fan, you have to be pretty happy. And if you're an Avs fan, probably less happy. I would think when people ask, how do you feel after tonight's game? As an Avs fan, I feel less happy. That would be, I would imagine, the response. All right, Columbus. So for the Blue Jackets, in against the Red Wings, this one was a tough watch in parts. It was, and yet, you know, this is a big game for Detroit. This is a sign that maybe they've turned that corner, right? So Columbus coming in, having won their first 2 games, and Detroit coming in, not having lost in regulation yet. This felt like it was kind of a good early season test for Detroit as to where they're at. It's Korpisalo versus Greiss. Early chances are for the Wings, and there was a stretch pass to Nyquist which missed. And when I say early chances, I mean the shots were 6-0 Detroit 4 minutes into this. Yeah, it was lopsided. Korpisalo then mishandled it behind the net. He ends up being able to recover it and cover the puck, but that was some scary stuff there. No Columbus shots until 8 minutes and 56 seconds into that first period. And then they started getting those shots. Gavrikov had a tip shot that wouldn't go. Their play starts picking up for Columbus around the halfway mark. Laine, though, takes a penalty. The Wings get a power play. Columbus kills that off as the shots are evening up. We then get a power play for Columbus. That was unsuccessful as well. And we go to the second period. Second period, the shots are 9-0 for the Wings at 4 minutes. So in the combined first 8 minutes of the first and the second, they've been outshot 15-0. You've got to come out with a little more fire than that, right? Or if you're a Detroit fan, you're like, hey, that's perfect. We outshoot them a lot in the first few minutes. That's great. Because last year and the year before especially, Detroit getting outshot was kind of the standard. It felt like that was always what was happening. Columbus, with that slow start, they get a power play. The Wings then get a power play. It was a 4-minute. Then they get a minute and 34 seconds of 5-on-3. And Columbus manages to kill it off. The Wings needed more traffic at the net. As Mickey Redmond said, he was kind of like, there's no traffic. You got to get more traffic. He was like, yeah, absolutely. Larkin looked like he buried one. It was close. It was close, but he didn't bury it. Columbus survives the 5-on-3. Korpisalo, a big part of the reason why. Korpisalo was already up to 30 saves with a few minutes left in that second period. Stevens sends one over the net. So we're going into the third, and it's still scoreless because Korpisalo reasons. The Wings get a power play. They don't score on it, but Raymond scores his first NHL goal from Larkin at 6:17. Larkin only missed 1 game. And then Larkin gets an assist on the next goal, which is Bertuzzi from Larkin and Raymond at 8:53. So Raymond with a goal and an assist. Columbus then gets a power play. They need to answer. They don't. It's still 2-0 after that. There's another Columbus power play, though, not long after that, and they score on that one. It's Boone Jenner with the goal from Voracek and Laine at 12:51. Then there's a rush chance for Columbus, and Werenski fires it wide. Goaltender gets pulled with 2 minutes left. Well, this allows Detroit to add some goals here. First is Nemesnikov from Ernie and Stahl at 18:46, and then the next empty netter was Ernie from Nemesnikov and Rasmussen at 19:50. So Nemesnikov with a couple of points, Ernie with a couple of points, and Detroit wins this one 4-1. So they go to 2-0-1. Columbus drops to 2-1 early in the season. Shots were 13-8 Detroit in the first, 18-5 Detroit in the second, 14-10 Detroit in the third. They outshot Columbus in every period. Final shots 45-23 for the Wings. Power plays, Columbus 1 for 4, Detroit 0 for 4. Both teams had 11 hits. Not a very physical game. Korpisalo 41 saves on 43 shots. Greiss 22 saves on 23 shots. And yeah, so Detroit has a winning record through their first 3 games. It's those small hurdles. And as a team gets competitive, they go through these small hurdles, and all of a sudden, we look one day and we say, hey, they're close to the playoffs. And maybe this is the year that Detroit at least makes a little bit of a run. Maybe they fall out, but maybe they make a little bit of a run before they fall out of it, right? All right, next up. Islanders and Blackhawks. So, if let's just say there was a panic index. Let's just say there was. I would think that right now Chicago and Montreal would be towards the panicky end of said index. It was Sorokin versus Fleury. This was not a high-scoring high-scoring game either. And Chicago had a very good first period. This is the thing. Chicago, their struggles have been in the first period. They didn't have a problem with the first period today. Shots are 3-0, in fact, in favor of Chicago 4 minutes in. Borgstrom denied by Sorokin. Much better start for the Hawks, as I said. The Hawks get a power play. That was killed off. Pulock had a chance. Fleury makes the save. Fleury had a good start, too. Hawks were stymied by Sorokin to this point in the game. With 3:26 left, the Islanders get a power play. That was killed off. With 42.7 seconds left in the period, the Hawks get a power play. So to start the second period, the Islanders finish off the kill. And then Beauvillier scores at 4 minutes and 8 seconds. So that's a bit of one of those goals that's kind of deflating, because they had really controlled large portions of this game. And the Islanders, being the Islanders, this is kind of what they do. They hadn't done it the first 2 games, but it happens tonight, right? Sorokin saved as the Hawks pressed. There was a late power play for the Islanders in that second period. The Hawks outshot the Islanders' power play 2-1. So, again, shorthanded, they were good. They're down 1-0, but they're playing well. And that's the key thing going into the third period, right? But Wahlstrom, at 48 seconds, puts one through the 5-hole on Fleury. And that's kind of when it takes the wind out of the sails for Chicago. The Hawks press to answer. Barzal fires one wide as the Islanders then press back. The Hawks just not able to figure out Sorokin. And whether it's they're shooting it at him or he's just fantastic, you can make that call. But yeah, Sorokin looked pretty darn good tonight. Martin then blasted Hardman into the boards. I was surprised there wasn't a penalty there. And you could see Martin blasts him into the boards, and then he looked concerned. Like, in Martin's defense on this, he saw what had happened, and he didn't seem like he was happy about it, like he was concerned about Hardman. Hardman did get up and skate off, but he was not okay. He was wobbly, and so he exits the game, and I'm hoping he's okay, but it really looked like a concussion. So the Hawks, rightfully in this situation, seeing this thing happen, Jujhar Khaira goes on the ice, and he fights with Martin. And that's the way to answer that, right? So we end up with that. It felt like maybe it was going to fire up Chicago because they've seen their player get hurt, right? So Hardman did go into the quiet room, but then at 8:51, it's Wahlstrom with his second goal of the game, and it was a very nice one from Pajot, and that made it 3-0. And then Clutterbuck at 11:06, he scores. Fleury was frustrated at this point, slammed his stick, and just, this is, again, they come into this third period, they're playing well, they're only down by 1, and they're suddenly down by 4. And this early season slump by Chicago, it feels like, is really getting bad. And so we'll see if Montreal and Chicago played each other at some point, who would win, right? So Hawks call a timeout, and it felt like this was Jeremy Colleton just calling them over to go, look, we're not going to win this game, but you've got to do something. You've got to salvage something out of this. So things are getting kind of testy. There's a Hawks power play. It doesn't score. But then at 19:34, Entwistle scores from Dock and Gustafsson. Now, this is where the announcers, they don't hear me through the TV. They reviewed it for offside, and it counted. Now, they said, well, this is, the Hawks have challenged. They didn't, or the Islanders have challenged. The Islanders didn't challenge because, we know they didn't challenge because when it was reviewed for offside and it counted, there was no power play resulting. So there was no actual challenge. It was just basically they were making sure that it was not an offside play. So with 26 seconds left, Sorokin loses the shutout, but the Islanders win 4-1. The Islanders go to 1-2. For Chicago, they're now 0-3-1. And again, this is, as much as things are tense in Montreal, they're going to be tense in Chicago too. This year's supposed to be different. They've spent a lot of money. They gave up a lot in order to make this team better, and so far they're not. Shots in this one: 18-9 Chicago in the first, 13-12 Chicago in the second, 9-8 Chicago in the third. Final shots 40-29 for the Hawks. Power plays: the Islanders 0-2, Chicago 0-3. Hits 44-34 for the Islanders. Very physical game. Sorokin 39 saves on 40 shots. And Marc-Andre Fleury saves 25 out of 29. I actually thought, when they scored that fourth goal, I thought, is Lankinen going to go in? They did not put Lankinen in, but I thought there was a chance they might. That being said, I need to change boards. All right, next on the board, Nashville and the Kings. And as I said the last time I did a Nashville review, this helmet sticker I will use for games when they're at home because it's facing that logo. It's not running away from it. And the road games will use the other logo that's facing that way. So it's the Kings, who at this I have to laugh because this has lines on it, and I have another one that I think is more recent for the helmet stickers they use. Doesn't have lines on it. I'm thinking, okay, so they used to be fast and now they're not. What does that mean? So it was Peterson versus Saros, and it was a very good goaltending matchup in this one. Shots were 5-3 for the Predators at 9 minutes. Predators get a power play. That led to a shorthanded chance for Iafallo, which was saved by Saros. Peterson then denied Duchesne, and that's all killed off. Kachyev also had a shot that was caught by Saros. So pretty good back and forth first period, but for two struggling teams, this is kind of the night it was. Second period, Kings had a 2-on-1 that led to a pretty big save for Saros. Benning knocked down the next chance, so it didn't get to the net. But then it's Kopitar from Brown and Doughty. Yeah, the old guys get it done again at 4:38. So the veteran presence for the Kings get them on the board. Kings then get a power play. It doesn't score. There was a penalty shot for Nashville, which Peterson makes the save on. But in the last minute, the Predators get an actual power play. So we go to the third period, and that power play that rolls over from the second period, it bears fruit in the third as Duchesne scores from Granlund and Yossi at 107. If Nashville's going to do anything this year and stay competitive, they need Duchesne and Johansson to live up to those contracts. Duchesne was a good play there. Predators then pressed for the lead, and they were winning a lot of faceoffs. They were at 64% at that point in the game. We then get a post for Duchesne and some more pressure, and eventually they score to get the lead. It's Jeannot scoring from Sissons and Carrier at 5:06. Predators then pressed at the 9-minute mark. Kings get a power play. That was unsuccessful. They had a 3-on-2 as well. That fizzled out. They pull the goalie with 1:50 seconds left. There was an empty net miss, which means that the Preds iced it. So I thought, hey, you got to watch for those. 1:37 left. The Kings call a timeout. But the Kings weren't really generating enough prime opportunities. Like, there wasn't really those getting into the dirty area type shots that had a better chance of beating Saros. Arvidsson then couldn't bury one late. The Predators, in that last 10 seconds, I think there were 3 shot blocks by them. 10, 15 seconds. They shot blocked a lot late. So they paid the price to get the win. They go to 1-2. The Kings drop to 1-2. The shots, 13-7 Nashville in the first, 10 apiece in the second, and 9-8 LA in the third. Final shots, 31-26 for the Predators. Power plays, LA 0-2, Nashville 1-2. The hits, 16-14 for the Kings. Peterson saves 29 out of 31. Saros saves 25 out of 26. Both goaltenders played very well, and you could see that these are two teams that are kind of fighting it right now. And yeah, we'll see which team turns it around and really starts putting some wins together. One of them should, right? Should. There's a lot of should in the Jets game against Minnesota. The Jets probably should have won this. Yes, they probably should have. And I know Jets fans may not be happy with the call, but it was the right call. So we'll get there. It was Hellebuck versus Talbot. Connor Hellebuck's numbers have not been great to start the season. So if you have him on your fantasy team, sorry. Jets get an early power play. That didn't work. However, Connor scores after it's done from Kopp at 3:48. And it was a really nice rush chance. And Kyle Connor is one of the better players at those. Zuccarello then had an answer that was saved. And then Zuccarello scores on his next opportunity from Dumba and Kaprizov at 4:41. So that ties the game up. The Jets tried to answer, and they would. Kyle Connor scores at 8:17, and it was on a turnover, and both teams guilty of some pretty heinous-looking turnovers that first half of the first period. It was kind of sloppy. It would stay that way. Scheifele ends up hitting the post. The Wild pressed with 8 minutes left. Power play then for Minnesota. Zuccarello appeared to have clipped Stanley, but it turns out it was Kaprizov that did. It looked like he elbowed him in the face, but, right? No call on that. Dubois then goes to the box. The Wild get a power play, and it's Eriksson Ek scoring a power play marker at 18:40. So Brendan Dillon, seeing that his team needs to be fired up a little bit, a 2-2 tie, him and Foligno went at it. So they had a fight. Both of them seemed to celebrate as they left the ice, and they both were full of a lot of energy, so that's good news, right? So 2-2 draw after the first period. Second period, Jets get a power play, and they score on it. It's Josh Morrissey from Stastny and Pionk at 5:49. Connor then fires one wide as the Jets press. And you could see, like, you know, each team had their opportunities, just couldn't quite get it done in terms of pulling away from the other team. The Wild get a power play. Duhaime jams at one, not getting it. Of course, he had a goal that was taken away for pushing in the goalie's pad. He might have been trying to do that again with Hellebuck. But Zuccarello scores before the period's out from Goligoski at 16:59. So Minnesota never lets Winnipeg really and truly get away from them. Although you thought in the third period they had. So let's discuss the third period, right? Crossbar for the Wild early, so that would have been their first lead. They didn't get the lead until they did. So delay of game, Jets get a power play and they score on it. Dubois scoring from Connor and Schmidt at 4:19. And then it's Andrew Kopp from Scheifele and Pionk at 6:37. It's a beautiful fast break goal. So this gives the Jets a 2-goal lead in the third period. And I'm thinking, okay, so the Jets are finally going to get that first win of the season. It's a good game by them. They just have to lock it down, right? Just don't give Minnesota a lot. And then they did. Hellebuck denies Sturm. The Jets get a power play. It generates a total of 1 shot. The Wild get a power play with 6:16 left, and they score on it. It's Marcus Foligno from Goligoski and Goudreau at 15:02. So that is the second point for Goligoski. Yes, it is. Second assist. And there you go. Fiala then nearly ties it. Hellebuck saves. It seems like a lot of the goals that were scored by Minnesota tonight were kind of like the pinball variety, where you know where it's coming from. With 2:47 left, the Wild call a timeout. The goaltender gets pulled. So the Jets hit the empty net. But they didn't, because it was ruled as offside. The Minnesota Wild, Dean Evison, challenges it, and they announced it was a challenge, and it was successful. It takes that goal off the board, and it was just barely. Connor's barely off. And you know what's interesting is that if Connor just fires it at the net, he would have scored there. But because he passes it off to Scheifele, and Scheifele does that little move at the blue line, it's offside. Just barely, but it's offside. So that gave a little extra life to Minnesota, and they make Winnipeg pay. Eriksson Ek scores from Zuccarello and Kaprizov in 19:02, one of the weirdest goals I've seen. So that ties it up, and the crowd went insane. That was a very loud audience tonight in Minnesota. So we go to overtime. Connor, unable to get the hat trick early on. Kopp was denied. There was a whistle then for which Talbot wasn't happy about, where he caught it, and then he gave it up to his own defenseman because it would have been a 2-on-1. But the referee felt he held it long enough for a whistle. Kaprizov then was dumped during a delayed penalty. So Minnesota gets a power play and a shorthanded chance for Stanley. The problem is this. So Stanley gets knocked down. Winnipeg wants a power play out of that, or at least a penalty to nullify the Minnesota power play. But that means that it's a 3-on-1 for Minnesota the other way. And as soon as I saw Stanley down in the corner, I was like, that's it. And it was. Eriksson Ek scores from Fiala and Kaprizov at 3:30. That is the first career hat trick for Eriksson Ek. Power play marker, tying goal, and then the game winner in overtime. 3 very good goals. Weird, but good goals. So the shots were 13-11 Minnesota in the first, 11-10 Minnesota in the second, 18-5 Minnesota in the third. So like I said, Winnipeg needed to lock it down. They didn't. Overtime, 4-2 Winnipeg were the shots. Final shots, 44-30 for Minnesota. Power plays, 2 for 6 for Winnipeg, 2 for 4 for Minnesota. The hits were 25-16 in favor of Minnesota. Hellebuck saves 38 out of 44. Talbot saves 25 out of 30. And the Jets drop to 0-2-1. And this one hurts. And you could see as they left the ice that this is one of those games that they're going to look back on, say, a month from now. And either they're going to say, that was where we snapped out of it and started getting it together, or that was the night that it really kind of fell apart for us. So we'll see. But for Minnesota, now they're 3-0. So thanks to that offside challenge that was successful, they're 3-0. All right, last game of the night. Now, Akbar was almost right. This was close. And honestly, I think Anaheim's going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. I don't know how many games they're going to win. Maybe they win 30. maybe they bomb out. But with games like this, they are fun to watch, and the future seems to be pretty bright for Anaheim. So with Stolarz versus Smith, Stolarz did not have the same kind of game tonight they did in the first game of the year. Grew had a chance. Smith makes the save there. And then it's Shattenkirk. He scores from Zegras and Henrique at 5:07. It was a really good shift by Anaheim, where they got the leading goal here to go up 1-0. Ducks were pressing for another, but then it's Cassian. He scores from Fogle and Nugent-Hopkins at 8:47. And the first half was pretty evenly played, so the score's even, the shots are even, and the Ducks are in this. Big save by Mike Smith then, and then the puck goes the other way, and it's McDavid scoring from Draisaitl at 14:52. It seems unfair. It seems unfair that they're together, and they're both on the same team, and so it's 2-1. But Steele then scores from Lundestrom 15 seconds later, 15:07. Anaheim, not really phased by this, and it was kind of impressive to watch. Not that Mike Smith had a fantastic game, but it was kind of fun to watch. So it was a rush chance that answers, but then the Oilers press, and they end up drawing 2 penalties on the same play. So during a delayed call, Anaheim was guilty of another foul, and so it's a 5-on-3 for 2 minutes. Remember what I said about McDavid and Draisaitl? Yeah, it doesn't go well when you're against them 5-on-3. Draisaitl scores from McDavid and Nugent-Hopkins at 19:29. That is the 200th goal in the career of Leon Draisaitl. So, not bad. Second period, the Ducks take another penalty. It ends up being a 4-on-4 shortly after that. The Oilers then had a 4-on-3 for a bit. Hyman beats out an icing call after that. We end up, everything gets back to normal. But then it's Delorier, right? From Getzlaf and Terry at 8:46. So Getzlaf gets another point closer to 1,000. And then Steele scores a little over a minute later from Lundestrom and Silverberg at 9:58. And at the halfway mark of this game, Anaheim is ahead in Edmonton 4-3. And, I mean, the score ends up being in favor of the Oilers, but that's impressive, right? And then there was a post for Henrique after the Ducks had a power play, and that was killed off. So, pretty good period of hockey, but for Anaheim. So they go into the third period with a lead in Edmonton. The Oilers had a 3-on-2 that misfires. The Oilers then press, draw a power play. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins nearly gets one, and then it's a power play goal. It's Cassian from Bouchard and Nurse at 5:27. Good game for Bouchard tonight, too. The Oilers then push for the lead. Koskinen, who replaced Mike Smith after that fourth goal by Steele in the second period. Koskinen makes a save when Comtois had a chance there. Comtois thought that was going in. Then there's a misplay by Koskinen, which leads to more pressure by the Ducks. However, at 10 minutes and 30 seconds, Bouchard with a double deflection. It goes off Mahura first, and then it goes off of the pad of Stolarz and into the net. Just a brutal-looking goal. But Bouchard will take it. I don't care how they happen, just that you get the goal, right? Puljujarvi and Draisaitl with the assists on that. So Draisaitl with some points tonight, and McDavid with some points, and Bouchard with a couple of points. The Oilers then get their 6th power play, but the Ducks did kill it off. With 2:07 left, the Anaheim Ducks pull their goaltender. They allow a goal on it. Draisaitl scores from Hyman and McDavid at 18:59. But this is where the Ducks are just fun to watch because they don't give up. They actually score to make it a 1-goal game again with the goalie pulled, Shattenkirk, from Terry and Silverberg at 19:41. So your final score is 6-5. Edmonton goes to 3-0. They survive a scare. The Ducks drop to 2-2 on the season. But, yeah, this was a lot of fun to watch. It was a good way to end the night. Shots in this one, 11-10 Edmonton in the first, 18-12 Edmonton in the second. And they were actually 14-8 Anaheim in the third. Anaheim, a team that last year didn't score goals, they didn't get shots. Their power play was abysmal. This year looks a little different. The final shots were 37-36 for Edmonton. Anaheim only had the 1 power play, which is the problem. They weren't driving enough of the play to really get that pressure that usually leads to power plays. Edmonton did. They go 2 for 6. Your hits, 29-22 for Anaheim. Stolarz saves 31 out of 36. Smith saved 11 out of 15, and then Koskinen saved 20 out of 21. So Koskinen has probably earned himself a start in the next game. But there you go. The Oilers survived that scare, but it was a fun game. And there were fun games tonight all around. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.